We're back. The headless YouTuber and her trusty pug Pudge, back with another week of plant chores, which I'm pretty excited about. I really enjoyed filming the first video that I put up of this new series or whatever, and I'm excited to take you around this week. It is going to be a very busy week, starting with today. Today is Monday. I have a project to film, I have a lot of cleaning to do, and just a lot of housekeeping stuff just so that I can get ready for the rest of the week. You'll notice my background looks a little cray-cray right now, and that is because my parents have been here for a week, so I haven't really been working just because, I wanted to spend time with them, but they left this morning, so I am feeling kind of sad. I had a good cry this morning, when they left. And yeah, I get these moments of just wow, this is my life. I live in a different country and I'm not gonna see them for a few months. It's something that is just hard for me all the time. I don't think that no matter how long I live here, I'll ever get used to it, just because I never imagined myself living so far away. But anyway, I'm here. My parents are gone now, so I am kind of thankful that I have a lot to do today just to get my mind off of it and try to not be sad, but I do miss them very much. So anyway, I am going to just spend a majority of the day cleaning. Just like I said, my parents were here, so I need to do laundry. I need to get the room back to what it was. I've been sleeping on the couch. So yeah, I want to get the apartment looking normal again, just because that's a huge part of my workflow and my process. I can't work if my space is messy. So I'm gonna get that handled today. I also have a project to do for Vandula that I actually need to finish by tomorrow. So yeah, I wasn't going to take you through the cleaning part of it, just because it's not plant related, and I do try and keep this channel as plant related as possible. But I do know that there is a good majority of people that like to see that kind of stuff, just because it, they've said it motivates them to clean or to do things that they need to do, and that's really important to me, just because I watch videos as well that motivates me. So that's kind of an important thing to me, and I want to include that. But for people that just want to see plant stuff, which I totally understand, I'm going to put a timestamp in the description of where to fast forward to just skip over the whole apartment cleaning stuff. So I hope that's okay with everyone. But yeah, we're just going to get started and jump right into it. There is a lot to do and very little time. So yeah, we'll see where the day takes us. never seen sphagnum moss before, this is what it looks like at the store. It just comes as a compressed dehydrated brick that is really easy to rehydrate with just a little bit of water. Oh my gosh, this freaking thing sucks so bad. It is slipping. If my phone falls in this pool of water, I'm gonna be pissed. Oh my gosh. This is the worst thing I have ever used my whole life. Okay, I'm just gonna use my hand. This is what your finished moss look. This is what your finished moss. Oh my! I cannot say this sentence. Are some. I'm gonna freaking lose it. Oh. Perfect. How much to compress it inside of the is to basically, oh my gosh. Okay, you want to make sure to kind of just like put it in there gently. You're not going to want to like press it and make it super compressed again. So now that it's potted, I'm pretty much just going to leave it alone. I'm struggling today, you guys. I'm really struggling. This is garbage. Okay, I just wrapped filming for Vandula and I'm cleaning up now, which is my least favorite part of this job. But I can't complain, honestly. But if you couldn't tell, today was one of those days where I can't wrap my brain around my words, and I get like this really often where I just fumble over everything and then I get really frustrated until my brain becomes mush. So I'm not even really sure if the footage that I have is usable at this point. I'm really hoping that I don't have to redo it, just because my timeline this week with work is very tight. I just don't have the time to refilm it. So anyway, yeah, I'm feeling a little bit deflated, to be honest. I think maybe I captured enough to show you how much of a hot mess it was, and I don't know. To be honest, I don't really want to work anymore, but I've got a long day, or I've got a long night of editing, and I do have to get that done. I'm not going to take you guys into the office with me to edit, because you're just going to see me on my computer, which is really boring. But yeah, I think that's about it for Monday, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. I woke up in a somewhat good mood for just having got off my period, which is a miracle. but I worked until about midnight last night, and I did finish that project for Vandula, which is a massive relief. I'm so grateful for my relationship with them, in that they're very flexible with me and they're really understanding, and they've been really understanding. I've pushed this project back for weeks, you guys, like I would say even more than a month, and I'm still trying to get a hang of this like YouTube Instagram thing, I guess, just because I didn't think that this was going to be part of my job. And because of the Omicron variant, there's a lot more people homeschooling right now. So my business has picked up, meaning my time has been split even more. So anyway, yeah, I've had a lot going on in my personal life, and then trying to balance my business and get ready for tax season that's coming up, which is always a very high stress time for me. There's a lot going on, and I'm just grateful that they've been so understanding of me needing to push the project back. Yesterday, as you can see from the footage, was a really hard filming day for me. Yeah, I just have times where I fumble over words, and then I just get really frustrated to the point where I almost can't talk anymore. So I'm glad I made it through. The video actually turned out pretty good. Not 100% what I had in mind, but I mean, it worked. So now that I have that out of the way, I think today I'm going to, oh, my little buddy. What's wrong, Pudge? So today I think I'm going to just take a moment this morning to just kind of decompress and get ready for the day. I'm going to enjoy my coffee. I'm going to respond to comments and DMs because I'm trying to make that more of a priority this year. I just came to a realization that, like, what's the point of me pushing out all these videos and content on Instagram if I'm not like actually taking the time to engage with people, which is like one of the funnest parts about this job, I'd say. Like, I've made a lot of amazing friends throughout the last 2 years. So anyway, I think I'm gonna take about an hour or an hour and a half. I'm gonna put on a scary movie. I'm going to sit my butt on the couch, and I'm going to just reply to comments. So after I do that, what do I want to do today? I need to repot my seedlings. I finally got a seedling tray. So we are going to spend some time untangling roots and finally getting them all into little pots. I'll obviously take you along with me as I do that. But yeah, I don't really know what else I have planned plant related today. I still have more cleaning around the apartment to do, so not too heavy on the plant stuff today, but I do have a few things to do. All right, it's about midday. I think it's around 2:30 right now, and I spent a solid 5 hours almost replying to comments, which is actually the longest I've been able to sit down and focus on doing that. But it's also made me realize how bad I am at checking and replying to them. And to be honest, sometimes I just avoid the comments altogether. Not that I don't love everyone's really sweet comments, but I get a fair amount of like mean comments, whether it's about the plants or it's about Pudge or it's about the fact I don't show my face. And I just don't like dealing with it sometimes, so I just like go long periods without checking, and then yeah, it gets to the point that it's at now. But anyway, these are my seedlings, and they very desperately need to be repotted. This has turned into a giant mess, and it is 100% my fault. So I need to handle this, get them into individual seedling trays, and hopefully not damage them too much. I can see some leaf yellowing, but there is a ton of growth on it, so I'm not super worried. Some of them are actually starting to look pretty bolate. Like this one right here, you can see kind of like the forgetty-eye traits coming through. Whereas some of them, like this is the biggest leaf that I have, I think, and it's not bolete. So I don't know. It's very variable. This one right here is really shiny. It's hard to tell on camera because I haven't set up my lights, but that one's really shiny. Anywho, I don't know if I want to sit on the floor and do this, but the lighting isn't great and the angle is kind of weird. I think this is the best angle I can do right now. I really don't want to sit at my table. I just have times where I just want to be on the floor. So anyway, I'm going to spend a good amount of time untangling this giant mess. So I am about halfway done with this. I can actually fit a lot more than I thought I could, but you guys, I am 100% regretting doing this after the fact. It's so difficult because these things are so tiny. Like, look at how microscopic this is. It's so small. But I'm just watching Megan over here, Swaggatron Forever. I found her on TikTok and I'm just obsessed with her. So I watch her videos and Bretman Rock religiously, like every single day. And I can finally catch up on some of their videos now that I have this to do. I'm also eating my favorite snack, which is kimchi and some homemade pickled radish. It does not make the room smell wonderful, but it's good for your gut and I love the way it tastes. So I'm just having this as a snack before my husband comes home. I've asked him to bring me some McDonald's home because I haven't really had a proper meal all day and I'm craving that. I just got off my period, so it's gonna be a little treat. I'm gonna keep going at this. I'm not gonna record it because my camera is gonna overheat, but again, I will be back when it's done. Okay, all of the seedlings that I could fit in here are in. All I have to do now is kind of just clean it up a little bit and then do a little bit of topping to kind of cover any roots that are sticking up, like that one over there. But otherwise, I still have so many more. I have all of these. I have all of those little teeny tiny ones. Pudge is snoring like crazy in the background. I've got a little pile down there. There are a lot. Keep in mind, I do have to give a good majority of these to my friend JR, who gave me the forgetti pollen. So I might just give him this little tray here and just clean it up and make it a little bit more presentable for him. But I'm sorry, JR, I am not putting this in a seedling tray for you. That is all you. But yeah, otherwise I'm done and I just need to clean it up. All right, it is almost 5:30. I am starving. I have not had a proper meal today and I'm still here. I did get my seedlings in, which is a good thing. It's very messy and dirty in here, so I need to clean. But because I lost this whole box to fit all the seedlings, I have to try and squeeze everything else in this corner. So I thought I'd maybe go through and show you what I'm propagating right now. And I'm sitting on a pile of dirt. Awesome. On cream colored sweats. Double awesome. Box number 1 has Scindapsus trubii dark form. It has some Xerosicios dengui, and that is it. This is a Philodendron ernestii. I didn't know what this was for the longest time when it was a stump, and it's super cute how it's got the lobes and everything, and it's so teeny tiny. This one is a Philodendron Jose Bueno from my best friend Verly. She gave me a cutting of hers when I was visiting her. This is a, what are you? This is an Anthurium warocqueanum that looks a little bit cray right now. It has like 5 million growth points. Crap, I forgot the name of this. It's that Homalomina with the red back. I'll throw up a photo right here. Yeah, it died. It was super finicky and I didn't know if the chunk was gonna survive, but here we are. There's like also a million growth points. There's actually 2 more underneath, but I am too scared to slice the chunk vertically, so we're gonna leave it. So in here, I know I've got, I think these 2 are Philodendron gloriosum dark forms. This is a Philodendron pink princess stump down there. We have Rhaphidophora Hay. This is unknown. I don't know what that is, to be fully honest with you. And then in here we have a Thai constellation, some more silver stripe. They're the teeniest little things. I think this is a Thai constellation too. And then no idea what these are. I think this one is a gloriosum. You're probably like, what am I looking at? It's right here. It's right here. So I think this is a gloriosum. No clue what this is. And yeah, so nothing like crazy exciting, but I do need to fit them in here somehow. Oh, I do have 2 exciting props I don't think I've ever shown on my YouTube. This is Monstera Esqueleto. This one does not have any fenestrations. This one does. Super excited to see this leaf when it fully unfurls, but I am glad that my little stumps are alive. Anyway, I'm gonna clean up down here and try and squeeze everything inside. Happy Wednesday, even though I feel like today is not a fun day. Not a fun day for me anyway, and that is because today I have to handle this thing that I would like to call the consequences of my own actions. What you're looking at here is my corner of laziness, and I call it my corner of laziness because I have this very bad habit of putting things in here that I don't want to wash, so it just piles up, you know? I don't even know what I've gotten here, but when I do this, which I'm not supposed to do, I need this bin for actual storage. I can't get into this cabinet on the left side here. So today I need to handle the box of laziness, finally. It's been sitting here for weeks. And once I'm done with that, then I will actually have a pot that I can use. Oh, this one's not mine. I'll actually have a pot that I can use to pot up my new Are you okay, Pudge? My new Exotica, which is over here. And I am splitting this one with Alice, so this one needs to be unpot or repot and split in half. And while I do that, I asked Instagram to ask me some questions, and I didn't think so many were gonna come through, but I got I think I got close to like 60 or 70. So I won't be able to handle all of them, but I think I can get through most of them. I'm just gonna have to like really breeze through them, or I can do half of them this week and then half of them in my next week of plant to-dos. So anyway, that is the plan, but for now, I'm not feeling great. I'm still having like residual period cramps, even though I'm not on my period. So I'm not gonna do any plant stuff until tonight. I think the plan is gonna be reply to YouTube comments and Instagram DMs, because like I said, I am making that a legit priority this year. Which I should have been doing this whole time, so I apologize. And then I'm gonna finish the video that's going up on Saturday. That one's gonna be a fun one. So hopefully, what time is it? I have no sense of time. I woke up kind of late this morning. It is almost 10 a.m. So I'm hoping that I'm gonna work on this video until about 3 p.m. and then I'm gonna do some stuff around the house, and then when my husband's off of work at 5, I can exile him to the bedroom so that I can film and not be self-conscious. So yeah, that's the plan. So I guess I will see you later this afternoon. Good evening, everyone. It is 10:27 and I've had a pretty busy day. I did finish the video. That's a spider. It's a dead spider. Ew. So I've had quite the day. I did finish the video that's gonna go up on Saturday, so I'm relieved about that, and now I'm ahead of the game and I can start on next week's video now, which I've already filmed. So feeling good about that. But anyway, I was going to clean out all of the glassware that I showed you earlier. No, it's not happening. I think all I'm going to have energy for today is, oh, my phone is at 2%. Come on, Eureka. Okay, so I am going to be repotting this exotica. I've been waiting for the soil to dry out a bit, but this soil is super dense and it's not drying out anytime soon. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. And while I'm doing that, I am going to answer some questions. 76 questions came in, which is not bad for having 29,000 followers. Obviously, I'm not going to be answering 70 plus questions here, but I will try and answer as many as I can, and then I'll save the rest for the next week of plant tours video, and I'm going to try and post these once a month. Will you stay in Canada, or would you ever consider moving back to the US? Honestly, I would move back to the US. I love it here in Canada, but it's not like I hate the United States, you know. I actually tried to convince my husband for a good bit to let us live in Washington, just so it was easier to see my family, like not having to cross the border and things like that. The real estate is cheaper in Washington, but at the same time, ew! No, 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 no. That's so sick. I don't like the way that looks. Let's see if I can show you. That, ugh. What is that? I hate it. No, no, no. I'm not in the mood for that today. Ew, it's like a casing of sorts. No, no. Burn it. Burn it, burn it, burn it all. I swear nothing better pop out and attack me in this pot. Now I'm scared. Okay, anyway, yeah, the real estate is cheaper, but at the same time, my husband would likely still be working for the company that he's working for now, and he would be making Canadian dollars, so that doesn't really help us in that in that situation. To answer the question simply, I would move back to the US. Honestly, if my husband said that he wanted to move to California, yeah, I would probably do it in a heartbeat. Like, I feel very at home when I'm in Sacramento. I would miss Canada because I love it out here. I think it's a lot more like the scenery that I jive with. I don't love the weather here, but I do love having seasons, I will say that. So I would only move back to the US solely to be near my family. But if my family wasn't there, then no. There's no way that I would move back just to move back there. I really actually love it here way too much to just move there just because it's California, so. And then the next question was, how did you score a job working from home? And I actually work for myself. So besides having this YouTube channel, which is just sort of my side thing right now, even though I'm working full-time hours, I have a business called Free Pancakes, a children's brand, and I make homeschooling resources for homeschool families. So that is my actual job, which is a pretty sweet job because everything is digital, it's all online, and the business sort of runs itself right now. So, you know, families can just look through the website and pick the resources that fit their curriculum, and then they purchase it and it's sent to them digitally. And the only thing that I really need to do is make new resources, answer emails, fulfill some orders. We do have like physical flashcards, but those aren't as popular as the digital flashcards. So I'm not really shipping out things all that often. But in a lot of ways, it is a very difficult job too. It's really hard starting a business from the ground up. I started the business when I moved here to Canada and I didn't know anyone, and yeah, it was really difficult. It was a very long few years to really get on my feet, but yeah. So anyway, that's what I do. If any of you guys homeschool and are looking for resources, I know a lot of people are at home right now because of COVID, feel free to message me. I only have stuff for like the younger grades right now, but if you needed stuff for older grades, I can definitely help point you in the right direction, because the homeschool community is massive and there are a lot of amazing creators that are making resources that can be accessed easily online. So anywho, that's enough of that. You guys are probably like, boo, homeschool boring. Favorite non-planty hobby? I love painting. I feel like I'm pretty bland. Like, I don't have a ton of hobbies. I'm not super outdoorsy. I do love going on a good hike, but that's not something that I seek out all the time. Like, I have to really be in the mood to go on a hike. So yeah, I would say probably my #1 hobby outside of plants is painting. And then if you could consider this a hobby, cleaning. I love cleaning and organizing. I know that sounds kind of lame, but it's very, very therapeutic for me. I like to play video games. I have been recently wanting to buy the, I know it's not a new game, but I haven't played Grand Theft Auto 5 yet, and my sister bought it while I was in California, and it was so fun. And that game actually does not make me dizzy, surprisingly. I used to be able to play video games for like days. Literally, like, I would not emerge from my room for days. I would just play video games for like 16 to 18 hours straight. I know that sounds cray-cray, but now if I try and do that, it's like I get really, really motion sick and it triggers my vertigo, which is really sad because video games were like such a big part of like my upbringing and stuff like that. So yeah, kind of bummed, but I'm trying to make this pot as even as possible for Alice and I because we're splitting it. I'm gonna give her all of this, and I will take these. I think her pot is actually slightly bigger, but that's okay. I don't have a ton of space. Okay. So my pot is gonna be this plus this plus this, because I only have a little bit of space left on my plant shelf for trailing plants, so I can't have it too bushy. In my experience, exoticas are very thirsty, and when it's in like super, super chunky mix and it dries out really fast, I just find that it doesn't do that well. I want a soil that's a little bit more dense, and then I want there to be some type of leca or lechuzapan down at the bottom. I think someone might have mentioned me on YouTube or something, because I've had an influx of comments on an older video and I'm not sure why. How do I treat sphagnum moss for pests? Honestly, I treat it the way that I would treat any substrate, like your soil or lechuzapan or whatever. You can also sterilize your sphagnum moss, but just keep in mind that will trigger the decomposition process. But I mean, if you have a plant, if you have sphagnum moss that's infested with pests, then I mean, I would say decomposing moss is much better to use than just throwing it away. If you have access to systemic, I would definitely recommend using systemic. Tell us all about grow lights? Oh man, this one I can't answer right away. I do want to do like a dedicated video on like lighting, but I'm not like the most knowledgeable on being able to explain wattage and lumens and all of that to you. Anytime someone has questions about light, I always refer them to Daryl. If you follow me, you probably know who Daryl is. He is at Houseplant Journal and he is the light god. And that's because he explains light as a science and can explain it to you in a way that I feel makes sense scientifically and how that comes back to relating to our plants. So I will post a sort of dummy version of my grow lights and what I've been using for my plants as a separate video, hopefully soon, because I do get a lot of questions about it. But yeah, I can't answer this question just as is because it's kind of a more complicated topic and I use different kinds of lights for different types of or different species of plants and stuff. So hopefully I can follow up with you on that very soon. Just please give me glamour shots of the Columbia SP because I can't find. Sure, glamour shot coming to you in 3, 2, 1. What is your least favorite food? That's a really good question. I'm trying to not make a big fat mess in my plant room, but I feel like it's coming. I really don't discriminate a lot against food. Food is food and food is yummy. So I think maybe it's better if I say a food that I crave the least. I will say of all of the types of cuisines, I probably crave Italian and Filipino the least, which is funny because I'm Filipino and I do have Italian blood on my mom's side. But yeah, I don't really crave Italian all that much. Very rarely do I crave pizza or like spaghetti or something, or like fettuccine alfredo. And then there's only like certain Filipino dishes that I crave like sometimes, but again, like I could go without it at the same time. There's really no food that I hate, let's put it that way, except Brussels sprouts. Ugh, God, I hate Brussels sprouts. I hate Brussels sprouts so much. They smell bad, they taste bad. Someone was like, oh, but you haven't had it cooked this way or like roasted or whatever. No, I don't like Brussels sprouts. I once had spaghetti squash. No, did not like that. I had this pizza that was made from cauliflower crust. Nope, did not enjoy that at all. Did that even answer the question? What is your favorite plant at the moment? Okay, so I have two definite favorites right now. One is the Philodendron gloriosum that I've been freaking going on about for months now. I keep saying that was one of my best imports to date. That plant has just surprised me leaf after leaf after leaf, and every time I feel like I know what kind of form of gloriosum I have, the next leaf just looks completely different. So it like never wants to just be one thing, and I'm totally cool with that. Like, it's fun, it's a surprise every time. I have some Lechuzapon and Leca down at the bottom. I've put a thin layer of soil over it, And now I'm just going to fill the rest with soil. Oh, favorite plant. Okay, so I said the Gloriosum. Gloriosum is my favorite, and then also my Philodendron SP Columbia, which I would have just showed you. It's kind of weird. I'm not like really paying a lot of attention to my anthuriums at the moment. I'm not sure why, and those are the ones that are actually growing right now for me. But yeah, I'm just really into my philodendrons right now. I don't know what it is. I think the fun part about this hobby is that like your favorites and your interests, or like, you know, things that you hone in on or really hyper focus on, it always changes. Like one month I'll be super into like finding new ways to pot my plants, and then the next month I'll be like determined to get all of my plants to climb something. And yeah, I just feel like there's like never a dull moment in the hobby. There's always something to do. There's always something there's always something to be excited for, whether it's new growth or learning about like a new technique or finding out a new process that works for you and really dialing in on it. Ugh, this hobby is just so fun. So next question, do you have a favorite substrate? If so, which one? Yes. I love soil. Honestly, I wasn't really growing a lot in passive hydro like back in 2018, 2019, but it wasn't until 2020 that I really started getting into using passive hydro and doing no drainage pots with a mixture of passive hydro and soil. And I've had some great success using substrates like leca and lechuzapon. I will say primarily with my philodendrons. My philodendron, oh my gosh. My philodendron micans, for example, that one is like, it completely took off in passive hydro, whereas in soil, it was kind of just living or kind of just surviving barely. But the second that I moved it to passive hydro, it just knew, you know, it knew what to do and it was really happy. So yeah, as much success as I've had with non-soil substrates, I think I'll always have an affinity toward soil because that was the first substrate I ever worked with in the hobby. And I don't know, it's really fun to play around with different soil mixtures. I love touching soil. I love working with it, and I don't know, I just feel very connected to the earth when I'm using soil. So yeah, I will say soil is my favorite, and then a lot of people are not gonna like to hear this because of the sustainability issue, but sphagnum moss is probably my second, just because it, you know, it's such a great growing medium, and I've had such success growing with it short and long term that it's kind of hard to like deny how well it works. Also, perlite is great. I will say that's my third, although that's also not like super eco-friendly from what I'm reading. This is the worst angle of all angles that I've ever filmed at, but it's been a long day. But here's my exotica. It doesn't look as bad as I thought it was gonna look. I've got one long strand. There were two super long strands in this pot, so I made sure to give one to Alice, and then I kept one for myself. So there's a chance that I might cut it and like propagate and stick it back in, or I might just leave it since it's gonna go on my shelf anyway. All right, so that one's mine, and now I need to pot up Alice's. On to the next question. How do you maintain the humidity and temperature in the exos? Oh, I can answer this one. So I've been getting this question a lot actually, and it's about the exo tops that I use. For most of my exos, besides one of them, I actually had a custom acrylic top made for it, and it was good. But over time, the acrylic warped and it kept bending, so I had to keep flipping it over, and it was just getting kind of annoying. So now I just wrap the top of the mesh with some kind of plastic. You can use like a clear plastic bag or saran wrap, like extra saran wrap that you have, and you just basically wrap the entire top so that no air can go through it, and then you just stick it on top and then put a light over top. So You obviously don't want to have a burning hot light right on top of the saran wrap because it's going to get all like warped and stuff. But what I do is I wrap the mesh with saran wrap, and then I put one of my like old IKEA shelves over the top of it, and then I put the light on top of the glass, if that makes any sense. Also, if you guys didn't know, so exos are made for reptiles, so they were already built to have some kind of airflow. So besides the mesh top, there are little holes in the front that some people think is just for like aesthetic, but they're holes. On my big exo behind me, you can't see it in the frame, but I've actually used clear tape to seal it off. And then I also used weather stripping in the center to seal in all of that moisture in there. So yeah, that's what I do with my exos to maintain humidity. And so as long as you have enough plants inside of the exo, you can probably keep your humidity up to like 80%, sometimes higher, depending how many plants you have. And if you have something like a moss wall, or you're using moss, like a moss substrate at the bottom. And I do both, so yeah, my exos get pretty warm just using the lights. Even though they're LED lights, they do get pretty warm, and so I don't feel the need to use something like a heat mat. And also, I've mentioned this in other videos, but like I've just read so many horror stories of people's heat mats like catching fire, and I'm already super fire prone as it is. I have a legit fear of setting my apartment on fire, and so if there's any way I can minimize that, I will. So yeah, I don't use heat mats just because I don't need that energy in my life, you know? Plant purchase you regret. So easy. My Monstera Thai constellation that I won in an auction locally. Long story short, it was a rooted cutting. She gave it to me with root rot and didn't offer any kind of compensation or to take it back or whatever. She kind of just was like, oh, sorry, like I'll know to do better next time, basically. And I'm not the type that's gonna like fight you on it, honestly. I mean, I probably should have, considering I paid like $800 for a rooted cutting, and I probably shouldn't have even paid that much for it, but you know, lapse in judgment. I was very happy with it until I found out that it was rotten. And this was before I realized how freaking finicky they are. I had owned elbows before the Thai, and I thought it would be similar, and I have like no problem with elbows, but the Thai is a different beast, man. I've learned my lesson. No more ties for me. So yeah, that's an easy question. It was 100% my Thai because I didn't even get to enjoy it. It died before it had a chance. To the credit of the seller, she did message me like randomly, maybe like a year later or something, and like wanted to know how it was doing and was saying she would give me like another cutting or something. But I mean, it was really sweet and I wasn't mean or anything, but I didn't accept it. I didn't obviously want to take another cutting of something that could potentially die again in my care, even if it wasn't rotten this time. And yeah, I learned my lesson. I'm just not made to have a Thai, and that's totally fine. I'm going to reuse this soil because it's actually good soil, but I'm gonna pick out some of the roots and grow stuff in here. And I think I can answer maybe 2 more questions while I'm here. I still have the rest of the week to answer some of these questions as I go. But I figure instead of like maybe time-lapsing some of the stuff that I'll do like tomorrow and Friday, I can just answer questions. Do you plan on getting Pudge a sibling, or will he be an only child? Honestly, you guys, I got really close to adopting a pug. So if you guys don't know the Pug Queen, she is a pug rescue, and she has rescued so many pugs out of China. And there's like a new law or something, like you can't bring rescue dogs in from China anymore and have them land in the United States. So she's had to open up sort of like a section of her organization in Vancouver. So I've been trying to get a hold of her just because I want to see how I can help, like just to work and volunteer there. And I had thought about fostering a dog, but at the same time, I haven't talked to my landlord yet to see if I'd be allowed to even have more than one pet. And then also, I don't know, I feel like I have like a lot of momentum going right now in YouTube and my career, that I'm kind of scared that adding another dog to the mix is really going to disrupt that, especially having a rescue dog. I've had a rescue cat before, and that was a very, very long and painful road at some points. There's a lot of behavioral things that you have to deal with, a lot of anxieties that they have, and they just require a special kind of care sometimes. So I just want to make sure that if I'm fostering, that I'm really, really in it and I'm not like half-assing it. So I haven't done it yet, but I do know that I want to get involved somehow, and I want to help her as much as I can, just because she's doing so much for these pugs. And yeah, I had to unfollow her on Instagram and Facebook just because some of the stuff that she was posting was really heavy, and I just can't even imagine what she deals with on a daily basis. So anyway, all that to say, yes, we eventually want to get... Oh, I heard a sound. It was my husband's toothbrush. Man, it must be getting late. Yeah, we eventually want to get him a sibling, but I think that we're gonna wait until we have our own backyard, just because the apartment as it is just kind of a tight squeeze for us and 2 dogs. Pugs are not like these lazy dogs that a lot of people think that they are. Pugs are very high energy, and they need to be worked out a little bit during the day, or else they're just gonna be like manic and just running circles around you. I wanna be able to provide the right environment for the new dog and for Pudge when that day comes. I don't want anyone to feel cramped. I don't want them to feel like they don't have space to run around in. So I think eventually when it's a better time, we'll do that, but the time is, I've realized that it's not now. I don't think that I want to get a puppy, just because the puppy stage with Pudge was so difficult that I don't really know if I want to relive that again. I don't know, I just feel like the next dog that we have is probably going to be adopted from the shelter. But I do know I want another pug, despite people hating on me for it. I'm tired of that conversation, and I'm not gonna have that conversation anymore. I think the next question was from my sister. My phone is so filthy. Were you born ugly, or did you become ugly over time? I don't think that I was born ugly, because I've seen my videos and baby photos, and I was actually kind of cute. I'll see if I can throw one up. But I definitely feel like I got my ugly over time. It was like a gradual process. I want to say that it started in middle school, and unfortunately that was when I was like in my bad bitch phase. I really thought that I was it. Like, I was the it girl. I thought that everyone wanted to be me, and I don't really know why, because she wasn't it. She really wasn't. So anyway, yeah, that was a question for my sister. How did you start the parfait method? I actually don't remember when I would have started the parfait method to begin with, because I didn't share it right away. Like, I was doing it for a while, and I just wanted to make sure that it like wasn't stupid. The thought process in my head made sense, but I didn't know if it would actually work or do anything. So I tried it out for like a while before I publicly like talked about it and, you know, coined it the parfait method or whatever. I think if I had to guess, it started with one of my monsteras that I could not get to root for the life of me, and there were a lot of things going on with it. There was a certain area of the stem that was rotting, the roots were rotting, and I wanted to like give each section of this plant its own sort of environment that would suit what was going on with it. So the main reason why I used something like perlite in the middle was because of how aerated it was. I didn't want it to be submerged underwater like the leca and the pon was. I didn't like how dense pon was. So I was like, okay, I'll do pon and leca at the bottom because the roots already have pon and leca roots. But I don't want this stem to be submerged underwater. So I'm gonna just fill this part with perlite because it's nice and airy and I can keep it somewhat hydrated and not let it dry out. And then the top, like, it had a good amount of stem that looked like it was gonna start to push roots out. So I was like, I'm just gonna pack it with sphagnum moss and just see if that will like encourage roots to grow. And like, sure enough, it just, wow, it worked like a freaking charm. And so I started doing it to more of my plants. And I just found that it was like, not even great just for rehabbing, but just for propagating in general. But yeah, I only really use the parfait method on plants that I know are finicky or that I know are going to give me trouble. It's not something that I do all the time. The same way that I don't aggressively clean all my chunks. I only do it for the ones that I feel have a risk of rotting or that haven't been doing anything for a while. So you really just have to like assess each situation for what it is and just go with your gut. And going with my gut birthed the parfait method, which has actually worked really well for a lot of people. I love being tagged on Instagram on it and seeing everyone's like plants come back to life. It's like a really special thing for me. So yeah, but I know that obviously this method isn't for everyone. I've had some comments come in saying it's like dumb or like this is, you know, a waste of substrates and blah, blah, blah. You don't have to do it if it doesn't work for you. But if it does, hey, that's great. Anyway, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. I do think I'm gonna, my sleeves look so dumb, but I didn't want it to get dirty. But yeah, I've had a long day. I'm gonna have another long day tomorrow. I am going to clean out all the vessels tomorrow. I am going to make that a priority. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm gonna head to bed because my butt is hurting from sitting on this little stool. So I will see you in the morning bright and early. If not, I will see you around 10 a.m. because I like waking up at 10. So I'm just gonna get straight into it and start separating out some of the substrate. And usually I like doing this kind of stuff because I just like throw a movie on and zone out, but I'm not really in the mood to do that today. So let's distract myself by answering more questions. Please share your wisdom and tell us your thoughts of every zodiac sign. You know what, I would love to answer that, but I feel like I don't know enough about all the other zodiac signs to entertain you enough. Maybe let me do a little bit of studying again, and then I'll get back to you on that. Big fizzy, I think they meant fuzzy. Big fuzzy mealybugs or giant house spiders? Oh my gosh, what an awful question. I'm gonna say big fuzzy mealybugs, as annoying as that is, only because like I don't want big giant house spiders everywhere, especially where I sleep. That's like my nightmare. Sometime, I think it was early or mid last year, we had a little bit of a spider issue in our bedroom from a window that I didn't know that wasn't like screwed in all the way. It's a long story. I still have nightmares about finding spiders in our bed and having them crawl on me while I'm laying in bed. It was awful. I don't like that this is really dry. The sound of the perlite is really bothering me. I have goosebumps. Okay, next question. Up and coming popular plants for 2022 and thoughts on how the plant market is cooling off. So I will say I do think that the Philodendron SP Columbia is going to be a big plant this year. It's already a big plant. There's a lot of hype around it, and I see a lot of overseas sellers growing them and really pushing them. So I think they see the demand there. What else? You know, I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like I'm not really good at forecasting trends and stuff like that. That's like my best guess. And then in terms of like the market cooling off, I feel like to some degree it's pretty cool now, at least in my local market. I'm still seeing a lot of sales happening in the US on like the BST groups. Well, I'm only part of one now, but that one's still pretty popular, although things aren't like selling as quick as they did before in terms of like, you know, purges where there'd be like tons of people waiting and then just claims as soon as it's posted. I feel like there's a lot more thought that's going into purchases now, and people aren't just kind of throwing their money around like they did before. I think now that the market is pretty cool, again, in my local market, where you can find like Milanos for like $15 now and pink princesses for like $30. I think that like there's still gonna be those plants that go for a lot of money. I feel like albos haven't really lost their value. Thai constellations have lost their value a bit here because they've been selling them locally at like greenhouses. But yeah, I really think that like Instagram is like a huge factor in what is popular, obviously, and what people are willing to pay a lot of money for. I don't know what it's like in everyone else's market, but it is definitely cooled off here, and a lot of people don't have like a huge budget anymore to buy like wish list plants. I will say though that like a plant like the Philodendron McDowell, that one is still kind of kept its value and its demand. I feel like whenever one of them is put up for sale, it goes pretty quickly, and it's still kind of selling at top dollar. With a ton of people importing now, it's like it's a lot easier to get plants, so local sellers especially can't really ask the prices that they did before. A lot of people are importing now from Ecuador. Equiflora and Equigenera are really sort of like pumping out those sales and doing a lot of pop-up shops in different places in the US and in Canada. So yeah, you know, the more that these plants are purchased from places like Equigenera, we're all eventually going to have a lot of the same plants. So I feel like it's only gonna drop even more. But I do think that a lot of trades will probably happen this year. Like, I know I definitely want to minimize the amount of plants I'm buying and try and trade more, because I do have a lot of propagations going from over the winter. But I do plan on doing one big import this spring. I want to give myself maybe like a $500 to $700 budget and use that as an investment to kind of propagate and do more trades for the coming year in 2023. I would like to trade more with people down in the States, because there's a lot of plants that aren't available to me here in Canada that I feel are like in abundance in the US. So yeah, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's my best answer. Next question is, if you could live anywhere with the life you have now, dog, plants, mans, where would it be? I love this question. Sorry, I get allergies overnight, and I usually don't have a voice for like the first few hours that I'm awake. So, where would I want to live? That's a good question. I've never really had a place that I wish that I could live. I mean, I do like it here. It's just really expensive. I would want to be somewhere closer to the forest or the trees. Like when I went to Banff, I just like imagined myself living there, where like you just see like a beautiful lake when you open your window and you see the mountains and the trees. I feel like that would be my ideal. Do I want to live in Banff? No, because I don't want to be constantly surrounded by tourists. But if I could find like a somewhat isolated lake somewhere, I think I would still want to live in Canada. Somewhere in Canada that is still close enough to like a town where I can obviously get like groceries and still like see my friends and stuff. That would be ideal, and have like my own property on the lake. That would be amazing. I mean, it would be nice to live somewhere tropical, but at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of tropical weather. Like, I don't like humidity, and my hair does not like humidity. My skin loves humidity, but everything else, no. Final answer, somewhere in Canada where I can live on my own little lakefront. That would be ideal. And somewhere where Pudge can run around off leash and explore and be free. Next question, best tips for preventing root rot. Love all your content, thank you. Tip number 1 is, what is my first tip? Make sure your roots are healthy, first off. So for example, like there was one time where I purchased a plant from someone locally and it was already in soil. I took it out because I just wanted to make sure the roots were okay. And sure enough, a lot of them were mush. And there were a lot of like mushy roots in the soil that had fallen off of the plant. So always make sure that your root system is clean, and when your plant or your root system has been in contact with root rot, I always recommend doing like a thorough rinse or even just a quick soak in just pure hydrogen peroxide just to clean off any of that bacteria. I don't typically put a plant back that had root rot straight into soil or straight into like lechuzepon or leca or whatever the long-term substrate's gonna be. I really like letting it sort of bounce back in sphagnum moss or perlite or a mixture of both. Another one is to make sure that your substrate is aerated, whether that is soil or if that's your pond, making sure you're not packing the roots too tightly. So I've mentioned this before, but the reason why I mix so much perlite into my pond is because of how dense it is. If you've ever had a plant that is super root bound in pond, it is like a solid brick. But I find that when you mix perlite into it, it's so much easier to kind of break apart that root ball, and you can see little air pockets in like the mass of it. And I just find that the roots are a lot healthier that way. So you want to make sure that your roots are able to breathe, especially if you're not going to be doing drainage holes like I do. The trick is giving your roots a good environment to grow. I think a lot of us forget that it's going to expand, right? Like you put it in the pot and yeah, sure, it looks good when you put it in, but then it starts growing and then you realize like, oh crap, it's too tight in there. And then I've also mentioned this on my channel in a lot of other videos, but the key really, once you've given your plant good substrate, is the environment. It's not all about the quantity of water that you're watering, especially if you're using drainage holes because they're gonna come right out of the bottom. But you have to make sure that the ratio of water that you're giving your plant is kind of equal to the light that you're giving it. Because let's say you water a plant and then you stick it in the dark, it's not gonna photosynthesize and that water is gonna stay there like for a really, really long time, and your roots will rot before it can dry out. So environment is key, making sure that you're giving your plant enough light. I feel like one of my most frequently asked questions is like, how do you not rot your roots when you don't use drainage holes? And the bottom line is like, I know my conditions. I know that my plants that are not in drainage holes are getting sufficient light and that they're going to be able to photosynthesize and use all of the water in the substrate before the roots can rot. Obviously, a big part of it is making sure that you're watering the right amount. It's not like a plant with drainage holes where you can just water, like you can literally stick a plant with drainage under a faucet and just run it under the water and it'll be fine. You can't do that with a plant without drainage holes. So yeah, it's kind of like understanding how quickly your soil dries out based on whatever your mixture is, knowing how quickly the water is used by that specific plant in the conditions you're giving it. And yeah, there's a learning curve. There's a bit of sort of like observation and learning that goes into it, but I don't know, you eventually get the hang of it and then it becomes second nature. Like now I don't even really have to think about like my watering with my no drainage. I kind of just like know how much I need to water. And honestly, I feel like I have rotted more plants with drainage holes than without. Are you Filipino? I answered this in my video with my mom, and yes, I am Filipino. She did mention that we have Chinese and Italian blood on both my grandma and my grandpa's side, but it's not really enough for me to be like, oh, I'm a mix of all these things. I say I'm Filipino. I tell everyone I'm Filipino, so I'm Filipino. There's another question on here. Oh, here it said, I've always wanted to know if you or your family speaks Tagalog. And yes, they do. I have family members that speak both Tagalog and Ilocano. I don't understand Ilocano, but I do understand Tagalog almost fluently, especially if they're speaking Taglish. And Taglish is a mixture of, I mean, you guys know. If you guys know, you know. It's like they are speaking Tagalog, but they always like just throw in random English words in there. So yeah, if they're speaking Taglish, I can 100% keep up with the conversation. But I cannot speak Tagalog to save my life. I wouldn't even really be able to put together a sentence for you, but it's strange that I can pretty much understand it fluently. How do you feel about moss poles? Do you like them and do you use them? I love moss poles, and I've been kind of not bullied, but I've had a lot of people call me out for using moss poles and for pushing moss poles and saying how much I love moss poles. But I do think that I also talk about reusing your moss and how to save your moss too. Like, I don't think that I buy moss in excess, honestly. And I'm pretty good at reusing the moss and keeping it clean and making sure that I'm not throwing it out. Like, I have really not thrown out. I can't even remember the last time I would have thrown out moss. So anyway, back to the question. I do love moss poles. I think they're great. I know that a lot of people are trying to switch to leca poles or perlite poles and stuff like that, but I find that my plants grow way more robustly with moss, and it's easier to keep them moist or damp if you're really proactive about spraying them down or keeping them in conditions where they would stay wet. I do plan on doing a video soon about poles. They're not gonna be about how I construct the actual like full moss pole, but they're gonna be about the lazy moss pole, because I feel like I'm gonna try and push that more this year, only because it's easier to remove a plant from a lazy moss pole, and it's easier to reuse this stuff on a lazy moss pole, like all the materials, the netting, the moss itself, and you just use less moss that way on these kinds of poles. So I'm trying to design a pole that is more eco-friendly and is not using a substrate like moss that is harmful when it's harvested. But again, I'm just having a hard time finding or sourcing some of the materials. And no, I don't plan to sell them. I want to find out like where I can find the materials and know that it's kind of available for everyone, or at least be able to tell people where to get it so that they can make it themselves. How do you clean your pond for reuse? I do it two ways. I actually either boil it, so I boil it for at least 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes, and it's like a rolling boil, like you want to make sure it's really boiling. Or on pond that like isn't necessarily super dirty, I just want to kind of clean off, I'll just literally soak it in pure hydrogen peroxide for like 30 minutes to maybe an hour, and then just rinse it off. How did you find all your planty besties? I need tips. So my friend Jing actually admins a group. Well, she is the admin of a group. I'm not going to say the name because it's a locals only group, and we really are strict about keeping it to locals because we want it to be local trades, local pickups, stuff like that. We've gotten a lot of backlash. I'm saying we because I'm a moderator in the group, but we've gotten a lot of backlash saying that we're like, I don't know, cliquey or gatekeepy. I don't really see anything wrong with wanting a group that's just for locals. I feel like there's so many groups out there that is like Canada-wide or worldwide or whatever. Like, I don't really see how one group is being cliquey. Like when I buy and sell plants, I don't want to feel like I need to pay for shipping or worry about, you know, someone saying, oh, I live in Ontario and I need to get a friend to pick up for me. Quick sales, fast sales, it's just, it is what it is. Anyway, I joined that group back in 2020, I think. And my friend Andrew, who owns the Pup and Bud, I don't know if you guys have heard of him, he makes those circle trellises. I was friends with him first through Instagram, and one day he mentioned to me like, oh, have you joined this group? It's a local group, it's a really cool group, and he's like, yeah, you can find some pretty like cool plants on there, and there's some nice people. So I ended up joining, and if you want to know how my experience went for the first few months that I was in the group, you can watch my story time video of how I was accused of being a scammer. That was fun. But once all of that passed, yeah, it was like smooth sailing from there. I met some amazing people through the group. And in terms of my close friends, I was kind of thrown into a group chat one day on Facebook with a bunch of other people because we were all interested in purchasing predatory mites. So she put us all in this group together just to coordinate this group order, and then we just all became really close after that. And yeah, like Jing, Alice, Erin, they were all in this group. So that's kind of how it started. It started with a predatory mite group order, and we all ended up just using the chat just to like chit chat about other stuff, and then we ended up getting really close. So yeah, there's a lot of other friends that I don't talk about a lot, but there are some great people. I feel like I really lucked out with the community that I'm in, the plant community that I'm in. Of course, we have our share of like bad eggs and people that annoy me to no end, and I feel like those people know who they are, whether it's because they're gatekeepy or they try and pass off acquired knowledge by just copy and pasting things that they find in groups like Anthurium enthusiasts and philodendron enthusiasts. I don't like everyone, but for the most part, I feel like everyone is really cool. What is your routine for fertilizing moss and leca plants frequently / max strength, flushing, etc.? Okay, where do I start with answering this question? So my routine for fertilizing moss plants I actually fertilize it more than my plants in soil, and that is because soil has more nutritional value than sphagnum moss. So I always make sure, especially if a plant is currently growing and in the weeks after a new leaf has come out, I make sure to fertilize every week at half strength, if not at like quarter strength of what the recommended dilution is. I'm more of a weekly feeder, or like every time I water I feed kind of fertilizer, rather than sticking on a schedule where it's like, you know, some people will fertilize every 2 weeks or every month or whatever. And obviously I only fertilize plants that are not dormant. And then for leca, I don't fertilize my leca or my passive hydro plants as much as I fertilize my plants in soil or sphagnum moss. I will say that for my passive hydro plants, I will fertilize them at least once a month, if not every 2 weeks. And then flushing, I used to be really good about flushing my plants and staying on top of like algae buildup and stuff like that when I didn't have as many plants in passive hydro. But now that I've moved so many of them to pon and leca, it's too much. So now I've kind of just given up, and maybe like once every other month, I'll just have a day where I spend flushing. And I have a video on that. I'll throw up the thumbnail where I show you how I flush my plants in passive hydro. I'd love to hear about the pros and cons, ups and downs with your exos. Okay, so definitely the pros are that they're beautiful. They're really pretty. They're very functional as greenhouses once, even when you haven't rigged it, like you haven't weather stripped it or you haven't covered the top. They're just great greenhouses because you can just freely spray in there. You don't have to worry about rusting and things like that. But once you actually seal it off, it can get really, really humid and warm in there, which is nice. And I just love that, like opposed to the IKEA greenhouse cabinet, you know, you have to, I mean, in my preference is to not just like spray freely because it's made of metal and you don't want it to rust. So I like that with the exos, you don't have to worry about that, and you can just water in there. You don't have to worry about spilling or oversprays or whatever. Functionally, it works great as a greenhouse. It actually maintains the humidity that you want it at without needing to add a humidifier or a heat mat or anything. So that is the definite pros. It's pretty, it's very functional, and it's easy to maintain your plants in the Exos. The con is that I only have experience with Exoterra brand, but I would say that the hugest drawback to having my Exos are that the doors are just so freaking flimsy, or they're not designed very well. So a lot of people I've read have issues with their Exo doors just falling off. And if you guys have been here long enough, you'll know that the right side of my largest Exo, that door is broken, and it's been broken, and I can't find a replacement door for it that doesn't cost an arm and a leg after shipping. So it's kind of just looked like that forever, and I hate that I can't just open it up and maintain my plant. I actually have to like very carefully like remove the door from the hinge, and it's only a matter of time before the door stops sitting in there. So I'm not really sure what's gonna happen at that point, but we're not there yet, luckily. So, gosh, I'm really gonna ruin my manicure now. So I would say the only drawback of the Exo is that the doors kind of suck. But other than that, I am very pro Exo, and also pro, wow, look at this layer of algae. Is this for real? I've never seen that before. Ew. So anyway, yeah, love my Exos, but the doors definitely suck. I wish there was a way to reinforce them better, or get like totally different doors that have a slightly different design, but I just, yeah, I hate the doors so much. It almost makes me feel like I shouldn't be opening and closing them as much as I do, which kind of sucks, but yeah, I do love them. And I also love my Mars Hydro tent so much. All of my plants that are growing in there are just like loving it. So the only drawback with growing in tents is that like you can't enjoy them like I could enjoy my plants in my Exos. I actually have to physically open it and kind of see what's going on in there. So if I had to pick between a tent and an Exo, I think that the Exo would still be my #1 choice. I was wondering about your past jobs and companies. Thank you for your content. It's always amazing. Thank you. Okay, let's go back to the very beginning. So I actually went to school for fashion and design, which is so comical now considering I'm just in sweats all the time, and I actually hate fashion and I hate dressing myself. But I did go to school for that. I got a degree in it. Basically, since I was 16, I've worked in retail. So my first job was at the Gap outlet in Folsom, California, and I started as a sales associate, but I actually worked my way up to a visual merchandiser pretty quickly after working there. Kind of unofficially though, I think I was too young to have that position. I think the job listing was like for 18 years and older, and then you also had to have like a degree in merchandising, from what I can remember. So I was a sales associate, but I was doing VM work. And if you guys didn't know, visual merchandisers are the ones that put the store together. Like they merchandise the store, and we analyze like the sales and things that the company is trying to push, and we merchandise it in the store in a way that would help boost sales. We do all of the installations in the store and do all the mannequins and the styling and blah blah blah. So it was really fun, but it was also a stressful job, especially because you have to work odd hours. Visual merchandisers usually work way before the store opens, and we do a lot of overnight. So yeah, it was almost like I was working night shift for a lot of the time. I would start my shift sometimes at 3 in the morning, and then I'd be off by like noon or like 2 p.m. and then I'd sleep all day and then go back to work. But anyway, first job was at Gap, and then I bounced around after that. I worked at like Urban Outfitters, I worked at All Saints, I worked at Forever 21, I worked at the Gap in San Francisco in Market Square. Is that what it's called? Union Square? Where else did I work? I worked at a bunch of retail places, and Taylor Loft. I feel like there's more. I would say that probably All Saints in San Francisco was my favorite VM job. It was a lot of fun. We had to stick to the directives most of the time, but there was a little bit of flexibility with styling. on the sales floor. We had to be very strict about the mannequins, but in terms of styling on the actual floor, I worked in men's. Yeah, they gave us a little bit of flexibility there, so it was really fun. And then my least favorite was at Forever 21. That store is a hot mess. The owners are terrible, terrible people, and I hated every second of it. And then I worked for a brokerage, which was also awful. I made pretty good money. I was actually really good at my job for never having worked like really an admin or like an office job. And I was the renewal specialist and the accounts manager for a little bit, but my boss at the time was awful. She is still awful. She is one of the most awful people I've ever known. And that's that. So then after I worked there, then I moved to Canada, or no, wait, I had my swimwear business for a couple years. And then when I moved to Canada, I had my business that I have now, which is Free Pancakes. And then obviously doing YouTube, so the end. Semi-hydro moss pole ideas, tired of shit molding on me and causing my roots to go to hell. You know what? That's really strange that you're having issues with root rot, because I have regular sphagnum moss poles in passive hydro and they're all doing really well. So I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Well, if you're having issues with mold, I don't know if you're having issues with mold under the substrate or actually on the pole, but I will say that if you're having issues with mold on the pole, like outside the substrate, you can use like, you can do a 50-50 diluted mix of hydrogen peroxide and water, just to clean off any mold that's currently on the pole. But I feel like because I give my plants a lot of airflow, I don't really have that issue too much. The only time I really have problems with mold is in my prop boxes, and that's because there's like no airflow going in there, and sometimes I forget about them and I don't open it as much as I should. So yeah, sorry, I'm not, maybe if someone else knows the answer to this question, if you could leave it in the comments. And maybe if it can all be on one thread, I'll pin it, and then yeah, we can all learn from each other. Your funniest Pudge story. Oh man. I feel like my husband and I have tons of those, but I would say this is a funny story, but was also a traumatic experience for me. Pudge has always had belly issues since he was a puppy, and we've dealt with a lot of fecal incidents. There was one incident in particular where he had some belly issues and he told me he needed to go potty. So he was sitting at the front door and was really kind of like pacing. So I knew it was an emergency. And the elevator was in use, so we sprinted over to the stairwell and no, wrong story. We did go to the elevator, but before we got to the elevator, he like sharded, like he farted, but like poop flew out of his butt and it went on the floor, a little bit got on the walls, and I didn't have time to clean it, obviously, because he was about to poop everywhere. So luckily it was a weekend and my husband was still sleeping, so I called him frantically and was like, told him what happened. And at that moment I saw one of my neighbors who lived on the same floor as me at the time. She was going into the building, so I was like, oh my gosh, she saw me go out, she's gonna know it was me. So I had to wake him up and he had to clean it up before anyone could find it. I feel like that's the only one I can think of on the top of my head, because it's one that I think about often. And it's just funny because when he farts, sometimes they sound like human farts, like there's a loud sound that comes out of his butt, and it's just so funny. 2 of my imports are down to wet stem props and I can't get these bastards to root. So my advice would be obviously to clean the chonk. I find that when you scrape that when you scrape that top layer of tissue off of the chonk, it like activates it and wakes it up. I feel like it's very similar to when people, what is that word, notching? You know, when you kind of cut like a monstera at every node at an angle. It like activates the axillary buds along the stem to wake up. I feel like it's the same concept when you're cleaning chunks. It just sort of wakes up the stem and maybe doesn't activate new growth, but it definitely activates the roots. And if you can get a growth point to activate or roots to grow, I feel like that's a win. And also keep in mind, many of the times your plants and your chunks are gonna focus on one thing or the other. So if it's growing roots, it's probably not gonna be pushing out a growth point vigorously at the same time. If anything, it'll probably be activated and you'll see that little bump form, but then it'll stay like that for a while until enough of the roots have established, and then it'll be like, all right, now I'm ready to like push out this growth point. So I've actually had dormant props for like a year and a half that haven't done anything. So my advice is to be very patient. Just keep in mind that, you know, plants are alive. They've all got like a mind of their own. There's not like an exact process or science that you can follow where it's like in 5 months I can get these roots to grow or whatever. Like I find that it's very variable depending on the kind of species that you're working with, the time of year that it is, the specific chunk, and especially with imports, I find that they're a bit slower than if you bought something locally. So patience, clean your chunk, and keep that stem healthy. Hi, how do you fertilize with CalMag? I recently got a bottle and would love some advice. The simple answer is I use CalMag at least every other week on my plants that are not dormant, and I literally just put it in my my watering can or whatever at like 1/4 to half strength, and I just water normally. I don't have like a fertilization schedule where like all my growing plants get fertilized like at this one time or whatever. Like I said, it's just I'm more of a stick some fertilizer in my water and just water everything normally. So yeah, I'm a constant feeder unless the plant is dormant. Do you think that gloriosums thrive when let to almost completely dry out, or prefer always get some moisture? In my experience, gloriosums are very, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's very drought tolerant. So I've had gloriosums that have completely dried out, like the soil is like dusty already, and that's mostly because sometimes I forget about the gloriosums that are sitting on the very top of my plant shelf and they just dry out. But yeah, they're pretty forgiving. I think it does help that I'm not using drainage holes because a lot of that moisture, what was I saying? Yeah, gloriosums are pretty tolerant when you forget to water it or whatever, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. I pretty much know when my gloriosums need to be watered. I find that they move a lot, but you can tell when the leaves are thirsty because they kind of like wilt a little bit. And I find that the stems kind of droop like a lot lower on my shelf, so I just know. And then obviously because I'm using clear vessels, I can see when the soil is dry. So I would say if you can allow a little bit of time to go in between waterings, don't let it get bone dry, but let it dry out a good amount, and then you can water again. Favorite things about yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally? Wow, what a question. Okay, this is hard for me because I don't like to say good things about myself, but I will say that my favorite thing about myself physically is that I feel like I lucked out with genetics, where I can pretty much eat anything I want constantly all the time, not have to change my diet or whatever, or like watch what I eat, and I keep the same weight. Pretty much since I've been an adult, I've fluctuated between 100 pounds and 109, which is what I'm at right now. So this is my heaviest, and that's because I've just gone on vacation and it's, you know, the holidays are here. So what's my favorite thing about myself mentally? I mean, I am very mentally ill and mentally unstable, but I'm gonna group these together, and I'm going to say that I have been through some, and I've probably been through things that I would say not many people in their lives would go through. And I somehow got out of it and I'm feeling a lot stronger, and so in that sense, I'm pretty proud of myself for being able to like overcome these things without completely breaking down. And that is all I have to say about that. You can only eat one meal for the rest of your life. What is it? Oh, that's so easy. This is gonna be gross. Well, okay, there's two things I would eat and you guys are gonna retch, but Taco Bell and Panda Express. Yeah. It's my favorite things in the world. It's disgusting, but I love it. I'm gonna take a break because it's very hot in here. I'm going to recharge my camera, and I think I might try and time-lapse the rest of this because I still have a lot more to sort from what I can see in the bin. And I'm about halfway through the questions. I don't want to answer all of these in one video. I think I'll maybe answer like 5 more and then I'll save the rest for my next week of plant tour. So anyway, be right back. All right, I'm gonna answer a few more questions while I sort this out. Sorry, I know this is like super boring, but I mentioned this in the first week of plant tours that my goal with this series of videos is that you can just play it while you're doing house stuff or plant stuff and you don't really need to be watching. You could just listen and I can keep you company. And yeah, so anyway, sorry this is like super boring, but these are just things that I actually do need to do. So moving along, where did my thing of pawn go? Oh, something you wish you knew before starting your YouTube channel. If I just had to pick one thing off the top of my head, I would probably say that I wish I knew how much I would enjoy doing it. And I wish I knew how supportive people would be, how overwhelmingly supportive people would be. To be honest, first off, I was afraid of showing my face. I knew that I couldn't really have like a successful YouTube channel if I didn't show my face, because, you know, I don't show my face because of a lot of insecurity issues. And honestly, when I can see myself talking, it's already a little bit awkward for me to talk to myself essentially, but to see my face, I just get so distracted and I just can't do it. By the way, ignore the background noise. My husband is working from home and he's eating lunch right now. Yeah, 1, I wish I knew how supportive people would have been. 2, I wish I would have known that, yeah, I would have enjoyed it as much as I do, because then I would have started a lot sooner. I feel like a lot of my insecurities prevented me from starting this channel maybe like a year before it actually went up. But then there was also the insecurity of like, I know that, you know, oh my gosh, this pink princess leaf is gonna give me anxiety. I'll show you guys in a bit, but you know, I've got people from high school that follow me on socials and my family and stuff. And like, if the channel just completely flopped, I do feel like I would have been pretty like embarrassed or just super self-conscious and yeah, so obviously that type of thing shouldn't deter you from starting a channel or just from doing something that you want to do. Like both of the businesses, so my swimwear business, I was scared to kind of run with that because again, I thought it was gonna flop, but it was pretty successful. And then again with my business now, I felt like I had a lot riding on it because I invested in it with my cousin and there was just a lot of pressure to get it off the ground. And if it completely flopped, then not only would I feel like I'm embarrassed that it flopped, but there was also that money invested on her end too. So if it was just my money, I'd just take it as a loss, you know, I tried whatever, but then yeah, it was that pressure of like, gosh, now I owe her money and like, you guys get it, right? If I just allowed myself to be confident and not let my anxiety weigh me down, then I would have started this channel earlier. But I do think that I started it at a good time too. So I'm gonna pull out this pink princess right now that is glaring at me. She is gonna snap right in half. I'm helping her. But look how beautiful this new leaf is. My goodness. So I need to spray her down. Okay, let's answer another question. What's your favorite plant that you gave your mom? Sorry, the lighting is crap. I'm just lazy today, you guys. So I think before, my favorite plant that I gave my mom was the pink princess that she has. just because like she killed the one that my sister gave her and she just felt so awful about it, and she loved that plant a lot and it brought her a lot of happiness. And then when it died, she was devastated. She was really sad. So I was glad to be able to replace it. Keep in mind, when I gave it to her, it didn't have the best variegation. It was like completely reverted, but I had just chopped it from this plant, and I had faith that the new growth would give her pink, and it finally did. So that was probably one of my favorites. And then more recently, if you watch the video that I put out last week, the one where I give my mom any plants she wants, she was so happy when I gave her the cardboard palm and my Sinningia leucotricha. It was very painful to give her those two. Well, I would say the Sinningia more than the cardboard palm, because I really love the Sinningia. It was probably one of my favorite plants, but I went into it saying I'm not gonna give her any rules. I will literally give her any plant she wants. The only reason I didn't give her the big elbow that she was eyeing was because it's not mine. It's my friend Pearl's. It is this elbow right here. So yeah, it's a gorgeous plant. I am trying to not get too attached because I know our time is temporary together. But honestly, I'm not, like, I love albos. I think they're beautiful, but it's not a plant that I can't live without. Like, once I give it to her, I'll be sad for like a few days, but then I'll be completely over it. So anyway, yeah, all that to say, my favorite plants that I've given my mom are the Philodendron Pink Princess, the Zamia furfuraceae, aka the cardboard plant, and then the Sinningia leucotricha, which is that buzzy plant. And I'll throw out photos of each of them, only because, not because they're my favorite, but because they've made her so happy, and it's like plants that she's wanted, like they're actual wish list plants, and my mom doesn't have many wish list plants, so to be able to like fulfill that for her is special for me. So I basically give my mom anything she asked for. Not that she would, like she's, like if you watch the video, you'll see that she was actually very easy on me. I thought it was gonna be a lot worse. But yeah, my mom is way more important to me than any plant on this universe. So plants can be replaced, but my mom and her happiness cannot. So yeah. What's one piece of advice you wish you could give to your teenage self? Man, that's a hard one, just because I was an awful teenager. I was bad. I did a lot of bad things as a teenager. Illegal things. I was just kind of, I don't know, I feel like at some point, like in high school, I was kind of an awful person. Like I just wasn't a nice person, and I let the whole, like, I don't know, hierarchy of high school sort of get to me. And I feel like I kind of always fit in with the people that I would consider like the most popular or whatever. And I don't know, I look back at like how I treated some people or how I handled certain situations, and it's just so young, you know, like so young and dumb. Like I just wish that I could have known that you can get the things you want in life without being a nasty person. And I was in a lot of drama in high school. I refused to be wrong ever. And yeah, I just wish that I could have been a better person when I was a teenager. Like if I could just sit down with myself now, especially, you know, seeing all these people that are bullying kids and people that are taking their lives because of bullying. I was not a bully. I don't think I was a bully, but I just, you know, I had kind of had that mean girl persona for a little bit. Gross. Like if I met myself as a teenager, we would not be friends. I would just tell myself to be a nicer person and not take life too seriously, because I really did. It's like, you know, you go through like your teenage phase of just everything is the end of the world, and I would react to things like it was the end of the world, and my life could have been a lot easier if I did not do that. What is your best memory from your entire life? Wow, what a question. I don't know why I can't think of anything that is like my favorite memory of my entire life. Honestly, this is gonna sound super like cliche and corny and stuff, but I think that one of my most core memories, at least in the last like 10 years, is when I met my husband again for the first time after not seeing him for a couple years. And that was the trip that we went on that we would have like sort of made things official. It's a long story with my husband. I don't remember if we've ever told the story of how we met, maybe in our 20 questions that I filmed with my husband. But yeah, there was just like a moment of seeing him again in person, and it was like straight out of a movie, and legit, like everything was in slow motion, and it's so corny and I don't even really want to talk about it. But yeah, that was definitely a core memory for me. Another core memory is honestly, it was driving through the Rocky Mountains when I was in Alberta, or when I was in Banff. I never know how to say that. There was, oh my gosh, get over yourself. Yeah, so I was driving through the Rocky Mountains with my husband and my friend Derek, and we had gone on like this tour of all the lakes in Banff, and it was sunset, and we were just driving on this highway, and like it was just the perfect day, and it's almost like you could feel like the magic of the Rocky Mountains. And it was like I had one of these moments of just like, damn, like this planet is freaking beautiful, and like, you know, how lucky am I to have been given the chance to like even exist. And it's like an existential thing, and I started to think about my life and like everything I was grateful for. And yeah, I just had like a special like moment with myself while driving through the mountains. And yeah, it was weird because like not much was happening, but that was definitely one of my core memories. I would say the third favorite memory is when we got Pudge. I just was in disbelief that like this little thing was ours forever, and like it was like a dream come true, because I had always wanted to own a pug. My family dog, we had two of them. They were both pug mixes. They were Chihuahua pugs, and they were really, really good dogs. But you know, I'd always wanted to own a pug, and my husband had always wanted to own a pug. It was just a coincidence that was like our favorite breed. And yeah, we really, really lucked out with Pudge, just because yeah, someone had an accidental litter. They weren't far from us at the time when we were in California, and it just kind of felt like fate. So yeah, that was a core memory. It was like holding him on the way home. He kind of just like melted into like my neck and just fell asleep, and I was like, how is this real? How, like, this is like, he is mine. This is my child. What is something you wish you could, or something you could change in the world? Oh my gosh, where does it even begin? There's so many things I wish I could change. So many things. Politics and you know, all of that aside, I wish that it didn't, like, homelessness and like people who go hungry didn't exist. I find that just completely unnatural, and I find it weird that like there are people that are living as billionaires while there are like children in other countries, and even in this country, that aren't eating, that don't have a roof over their head, that are living on the street. Just people in general, not even just kids. Like that, the concept of homelessness is just something I've never been able to wrap my mind around. I wish that war wasn't a thing. Like, again, I said politics aside, like the concept of all of us being on the same planet, and we're literally the same species, yet there's this like a feeling of some of us are more entitled to life than others, or some of us are better than others, and that justifies us killing each other for resources and power and land. Like, what the f is that about? I wish that there was the perfect moss pole that existed that was actually legitimately eco-friendly and had 0 carbon footprint. That would be nice. I wish screening for polycystic ovary syndrome and endometriosis was part of the umbrella of, I just wish that was under the umbrella of like the healthcare system, where like they wouldn't consider that like a specialty visit. I wish that was a thing that was just mandated, like once you turn 16 or 18 or whenever you get your period, that it's just like known that you have to go to the doctor, it's paid for, just because so many women live with PCOS, endometriosis, ovarian cysts, and they think that these extremely painful periods are normal, and doctors will tell you it's normal unless you like really advocate for yourself. Wow, I've sorted a lot of substrate. OMG, there is still a chunk. It's okay, wow. What is this? Oh, what is this? I don't know what this is, but it's growing and it's been sitting in that bin for forever. So let's get this out of here. Where am I gonna put this moss? I really want to know what this is. If I had to take a wild guess, Dark Lord? Maybe it's a Dark Lord. What's something you love about yourself? You guys are really asking all the heavy hitting questions. These are things that I definitely do not think about on a regular basis, if ever, which is probably not good. Okay, here's one thing. I'll say that I love, and I don't know if this is something you're born with or you develop it over time, but I would say that I'm a very creative person, and my, I guess, imagination and my hands, like the things I can do with my hands, have taken me pretty far in life, or have taken me to the point where I am now. They have paid the bills. They have gotten me out of some rough financial times, or even just dark times, like whether it's being able to paint or sew things or do DIY stuff. I guess I love that I am creative, I guess. I also love that I got some good genetics from my mom, because I would say that I have nice skin. I feel like this is a moment from Mean Girls where like Regina George and all the girls are like looking in the mirror saying like all the things that they like hate about themselves. They're like, oh, my pores are so big or whatever. And then Lindsay Lohan is just like, I have really bad breath in the morning, just trying to contribute something. Anyway, so is that a good enough answer? I'm creative and I have good skin. Number 1 wish list plant right now. So if you guys go to my Instagram here, I have a highlight called wish list. And this is how I keep track of everything I'm after. Oh gosh. Okay, that's not that attainable. Okay, this one. This is probably my number 1 philodendron wish list plant right now. The philodendron podioides. Podioides. That one, and then not very attainable. The Tim Burton plant. Ugh, love that one. This is my number 1 right now. Ooh, actually this is pretty high on my wish list. The Anthurium block F2, or a red crystal. Yeah, yummy, look at that. Look at it, it's delicious. So those are my wish list plants right now if I just had to narrow it down. It is so hot in my plant room. Because this moss is so dry, I am still going to try and preserve it, even though I've been very unkind to it. So I'm going to wet it. And I'm gonna wet it so that it doesn't break apart, since it's pretty brittle when it's dry. Oh my gosh, there's a chunk in here. Charmaine, what are you doing? It has been a rough few months, you guys, because of my constant trips back to California. I was just scrambling to get work done, to get videos done, and I haven't really had time to just be as thorough with my plant stuff as I've wanted to be. It's just been filming and editing back to back to back, trying to keep up with orders and stuff like that. As much as I miss my family, I am actually really glad I'm not going back for a while, because I just needed to like settle back into real life and not be working on like such a tight deadline. I wonder what this was. I guess we'll never know. I just want to say that I think you're a very cute woman, and I'm always glad when you show us your face. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. I wish I had as much confidence as you guys have in me, if that makes sense. Like every time I show my face, like I always get like at least a few comments that are like, why don't you ever show your face? I just don't really like the way I look on camera. I'm not a super self-conscious person in real life, but just I don't like having my photo taken. I don't like being in front of the camera at all. Yeah, I don't like it. But thank you, you guys are so nice. Do you ever find bugs in your EXO or after using Marfil? Not pests, but it's annoying. I would say that I've only had thrips happen in my EXO once. If I can remember correctly, I think I brought a new plant home that I purchased locally, and I didn't do the whole quarantine thing like I usually do. I didn't do the preventative pest treatment. I just got lazy and I instantly regretted it because it killed my queen. It killed a lot of other prized possessions that I had in there. So yeah. Besides thrips that one time, I don't really ever deal with spider mites in the EXO. I think because it's so humid in there and wet. Other than that, I think the only thing I struggle with pretty constantly are these fungus gnats. They're so annoying. And I'm just like bad at doing preventative stuff or using something like mosquito dunks. I'll only do it once it gets really bad. But I think if I like had more free time and I wasn't filming everything, I would probably be more proactive about it. But again, I feel like I'm just constantly on a deadline, which is not healthy. But I think if I work super, super, super hard the next few months, I can get really ahead of the curve and not be on such a tight deadline for filming. People have asked how come I don't have like a Patreon or like something like that, and the truth is like, number one, I feel guilty about taking money from you guys, and I don't know, I just feel like I'd rather monetize my plant stuff by just putting out videos and, you know, putting ads and stuff every once in a while. But no, I mean, no shade to people that have Patreon. I have considered it. I don't think that I would be able to put the effort that you guys deserve if you're paying for it. I feel like it would be half-assed at this point. Whoa. It would be half-assed at this point, and I just don't feel good about taking money and not giving you something that you're actually gonna get use out of that you can't get on this channel. So how was I talking about bugs in EXOs and then start talking about Patreon? How did we get here? I'm gonna skip the questions for now. I think I'm gonna take a little break to do some work, and then I will meet back with you guys in a couple hours. Are you just over here being cute? We had a long night, huh? My poor little buddy threw up twice. He kind of just, I think his ears are itchy again. Let's see. His ears actually look good. Let's see the other one. Ooh, that one's dirty. What I think it is that his ear gets itchy from his allergies. Oh, you're so cute. And then when he's like in that scratching position, it kind of like makes his neck go at a weird angle, and then he coughs, and then he ends up just throwing up. So that is what you're seeing over there. I couldn't even really be mad at him. I just feel bad, but dark brown spot, a big dark brown spot on a very cream carpet. So I've just been soaking it in baking soda since 5 this morning. I'm not really sure what it's gonna look like once I move this baking soda, but I do think now I'm going to pick up that little green clean pet spot remover thing, just because this guy loves to throw up. He's so cute. You want to tell him about your day? What did you do today? You woke up, you had breakfast, you took a nap, then we went outside, and then you took another nap. You live a good life, child. Huggy, love you. Happy Friday, everyone. Little Pudgy here is gonna take a bath. I know you hate it. I know. You're gonna be okay. this light, let me see if I can turn it a little bit. It's very bright, very sleek, and it's super easy to kind of just blend into your space. I have 2 of these right now. I had one in my office that was giving light to this fiddle, but I don't know, I don't really like it in the office, so I want to try and incorporate this fiddle somewhere in here. I just don't know where, and maybe I will save that for the next plant chores week video, because I am going to start filming next week's to go up for next month, if that makes sense. I did want to mention these lights in this video at least once, because they are easily one of like the best grow lights I've used, and I love that like you can just transport it anywhere. There are brackets that you can buy that slide into here, and you can mount them on a ceiling, you can mount them on a shelf. The opportunities are endless. They also have one that's like half size. It's like half of this size. I think that Fern has one. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw one in her videos or on her Instagram. But anywho, I'm gonna tag them. I am gonna be doing a giveaway with Mother Life Official on Instagram, so if you guys follow me, then you should enter, because the lights are great. Anyway, let's just finish cleaning up. Okay, what do we say? I guess we will be signing off now. I literally just yanked him from my husband's lap. He was sleeping and he looked so comfy and cute, but I didn't want to put you guys through 2.5 hours of this and not give you a Pudge sign off. So if you made it through this whole video somehow, thank you. If you skipped through the whole thing, thank you still. I don't blame you. I'm literally just going to continue filming throughout next week, and we will throw up another week of plant chores in February. It's not gonna be as long, I promise, but I did want to get through some of the Q&As while I had the opportunity to. So as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for all the DMs. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, because it helps our visibility a lot on YouTube, and we are trying to hit 10K this year. But of course, we appreciate everybody that is here already. So I guess we will see you in the next one.